Well, hey there, Scholarly Gamers, and welcome to this week's episode of Jungle Drums. I'm joined by my good friends Gimboyd and Sergeant J.
Hello.
Hola.
How are we doing this evening, gentlemen?
Hot.
Hydration headache, but after that.
It's funny for those of you that don't know. Over here in the UK, we've had quite a heat wave for the last. Has it been 2 weeks, guys, or ish about that?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's better.
I mean, which is great for things that are on at the moment. Like, of course, Wimbledon is on this week. But yeah, you have to consider that our kind of infrastructure, and like when I say that, I mean like our typical houses, a lot of offices even, aren't really built for this type of weather. They're more built to retain the heat, especially up here in Scotland, where it's usually cold and wet. So whenever it's reaching, 30 degrees plus Celsius, which I think in Fahrenheit is mid-70s, high 70s, I think.
Don't know Fahrenheit.
I think 30 degrees is about mid to
Sounds about right.
high 70s. Which again, if you're over in North America, that might sound like a cool spring day to you, but over here in the UK, it's not. It's really quite hot. So ends up creating all sorts of discomfort. People are getting heat exhaustion, obvious sunburn and whatnot. And staying cool is definitely quite difficult. But at the same time, it's actually quite nice, especially for those of us up here in Scotland. It's wonderful. We have, I know I'm kind of biased, but it is a very scenic country, right? It's a lovely place to go walk around and look at, but usually it's pissing down raining. So when it's nice and sunny outside, it definitely makes you appreciate the countryside, even if it means that we're melting on the inside. Just last week, I hadn't made iced tea in years, since I was over in South Korea and before that in the States. But yeah, I've been every day now, I've been making a pitcher of iced tea. And you definitely see your intake of fluid go up when it's hotter, that's for sure. But at least here in the man cave, I've got a nice little desk fan. I'm assuming you guys, you'll have fans as well, all geared up on you.
Doesn't mean it does the job.
Thanks for this one room.
It's just blowing hot air in your face.
My room is honestly like a freaking sauna. Like, I turn the fan on, cool air, and then suddenly, it's just like, oh yeah, it's going to blow all this hot air around your room now that's suddenly here. Fantastic.
Oh my. Oh god. What about games? Have you had any chance to be playing anything, G? Or you just been work?
No, I've been playing some. So I've played a little bit of Destiny, but I didn't have time to the grind, so I couldn't be bothered with that. I'm not going to lie, I've been playing a bit of Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links at the moment, and
I noticed that in Discord. I did notice quite a bit of that going on. How is that?
Yeah, it's not too bad, to be fair. It's one of those games that, again, like, you can build up your cards and everything, but you're probably going to lose to like the meta decks, especially when people got the money to buy them, build them to the point that they're ridiculous. And then the other game I've been playing quite a lot of is Total War Warhammer.
Oh, cool. Good.
It's good fun. I've been quite enjoying that, to be fair.
What about yourself, Gim? What you been playing late?
Well, did back in the Destiny 2 when they did that update. Actually been kind of enjoying it for once. Still a long way to go on that game, but it's been worth putting some time in, getting some stuff. And of course, the old faithful Warframe.
Yes,
indeed.
indeed.
Update a bit later, but been playing that. And trying to think what else we've been playing. Mostly just dipping into like Hearthstone every now and then, but I did get back into Smite on console because I used to play that on PC. I enjoy that.
Cool. No, I mean that's good to have those good old reliables to kind of go back to.
I do miss not having the Ultimate God pack because I bought it on PC ages ago, back in 2015 when I was playing it. And that you pay a fairly reasonable price and get every single god that they'll ever release. They've still got that offer going, so I'm tempting to get it on console when I've got a bit more spare money laying around, but I miss having that at the moment. Got a very limited pool of characters to use.
Yeah, that can be a bit limiting, I suppose. Oh well. Well, Here's a game that I don't think any of us have played, and this is the first bit of news for this evening. I sourced this over from GameSpot, and this is about yet another free Battle Royale game on the Xbox One. And this is, of course, the Darwin Project, which, now the Darwin Project was actually launched quite a while back. It was launched on the Xbox One in the game preview program. So basically as a paid title, of course, before. It's the Microsoft Store's version of, early access, basically. But just this week, the game has now changed their business model, and they've switched entirely to free-to-play. Now, okay, if you've already put money into this game, don't worry, you're being compensated. Next time you log in, you should see a Founders Pack in your inventory, which contains, a bunch of cosmetic items, 2 legendary sets of items that contains, things like a shirt, pants, armor, helmet, boots, axes, bows, a full jumpsuit collection. You also get 10 fan gifts, which include other items you can customize your look as well as your weapons. And so, with the switch to free-to-play, the studio has also added an in-game store where you can spend currency, which is ramen, on cosmetic items. It seems...
I was trying not to look.
Nice.
It's actual bowls of ramen.
It must be. I mean, again, I haven't
used the name.
I haven't played it or seen it. I don't know, but I mean, yeah, it's quite fitting that the name of their currency in 2018 is ramen. But yes, like Fortnite, all the items it sells are cosmetic only. It's by no means a pay-to-win game. Now, I don't know about you guys. I mean, I remember hearing something about the Darwin Project ages ago, but I never really looked into it since...
It wasn't most recently free, but the one before it had a showing there. They did a sort of mock esports presentation of it. They had commentating and everything, and it was just like, oh look, it's one of those.
Oh god, yeah. That's completely, that memory has triggered in my brain. I remember that vividly now. Yeah, that's right.
It wasn't as cringy as like Ubisoft's fake voice chat sort of thing, but it was fairly cringy.
It's not staged at all. What are you talking about? The Division 2 isn't staged. But yeah, no, the Darwin Project, it looks interesting. It's a third-person arcade-style shooter, and it has a slightly different spin on the Battle Royale genre. There's only 10 players in a match, and one person gets to be what they're called the show director, who sees the map from above and can either help or inhibit players by revealing their location or creating what they call a gravity storm. The game does, however, remain in an unfinished state, so there's quite a good chance you'll encounter bugs and oddities during your playtime. It is also available on the PC for free, but there's no word yet if it's coming to PS4 or any other systems down the line. But as it stands, look, it's the latest free-to-play Battle Royale game on Xbox One, and I'm kind of the opinion, I don't know about you guys, but it seems like any time a new free Battle Royale game pops up, everyone, and when I say everyone, I know I'm using kind of a generalism, streamers, YouTubers all seem to jump on it. Look at, PUBG. Everyone was playing PUBG. Then Fortnite Battle Royale came. Just about everyone went to try it. Now, some people didn't like it, whoever went back to PUBG, but, slowly over time, Fortnite Battle Royale kind of, started to outnumber the PUBG players. And then, just not long ago when Realm Royale launched, it also seemed like a mass exodus of people. Maybe not permanently, but, initially all jumped ship to go try that out. So, it's probably fair to say the same's going to happen with this. What do you think?
I'm not too sure, to be honest.
Not my thing, so I don't really...
Yeah, well, you know me, I'm in the same boat. It's not my bag, but it is definitely the current, contemporary, hot, yeah, everyone loves their BR games at the moment in 2018, which I still find it funny because, BR games have been out for years, and certain people, like even big streamers like Lyric, used to play BR games, 2015? If not sooner than that, and earlier than that, and no one really batted an eyelid. But fast forward a few years, and now it's became super mainstream.
Too many.
There is a lot.
Too many.
Admittedly, there is a lot.
It's become one of those things where
It's going through the same thing that MMOs went through.
Yeah,
Wants one.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody sees success. Everybody wants one. They either A, don't get built well enough, or they get tacked onto games for a look. We got battle royale mode. Woo! Which, quite frankly, is just
Battlefield.
You see, that's the one game which, I can understand they've tacked it on, but it's the one game which I'm surprised never had a mode like that.
It was hard
in a way.
Anyway, with 64 players.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah. But I mean, as a whole, though, it's just too many games now tacking it on because they can. And I just, PUBG's pretty good, Fortnite's pretty good. Those are two sort of big kings back like when it was really, as Joe said, MMOs like WoW still is, to be honest, the king. There's a few decent competitors to it, but I mean, you've got things like Guild Wars, which is still pretty big as well, from what I'm aware of. But yeah, I don't really pay attention to Battle Royale stuff now, to be honest. I'm just like, nah.
You did play Fortnite for a bit, didn't you?
Yeah. Like, I enjoyed it all.
I didn't like it.
I enjoyed it. It's just,
Yeah.
This fad's going to pass me by because I just don't like it. I'm old now.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. A fad. That's... it's, yeah. Oh, well.
I remember when MOBAs were cool, so I'm going to keep playing them.
Yeah. Back in my day. Right, speaking of, fads, something that isn't going to go away, obviously, is Intel. Intel, they're constantly trying to improve on their hardware, and the next generation, the 9th gen of Intel CPUs is on the horizon. I've got an article here sourced from PC Gamer, which is titled Intel Inadvertently Reveals 9th Generation CPU Lineup. Now, one of the surprises about this is that it was speculated that the 9th generation of i7s would have a 8-core 16-thread variant. And unfortunately, that is not the case. If anything, it looks like the 9th gen of CPUs is just a refresh of the 8th gen. So rather than being a new, even so they're going to be marketed as 9th generation parts, they're really just improved 8th generations with a different name. So for example, the 9th gen i7 9700K is going to be a 6-core 12-thread chip, just like the current 8700K. Now, however, there's going to be an i9 9900K, which will be an 8-core 16-thread processor, but because it's an i9, you can expect the price tag to be astronomical. But as far as the rest of the lineup goes, very, very little kind of upgrades. I mean, the i5s are still going to be 6-core 6 threads, and these look like great chips. When you look at their i5 9600K, that has a clock speed between 3.7 to 4.5 gigs. A decent amount of level 3 cache, 9 megabytes. Pretty nice little processors there, and even going all the way down to the i3s. Which are also pushing about 3.7 gigahertz and are 4 cores and 4 threads. Those are great little chips for gaming. If you don't need to stream or do any other kind of video editing or whatever, if you're just going to be gaming, an i3 or an i5 is absolutely more than you need. Those will do the job just fine. When the money you save on your processor, you can put into your video card, which thankfully video card prices are lowering. Jesus, it's about time. But yeah, it's it's one of these things that we know this happens, right? We've seen this before. I mean, Jay, we've talked about it before, where Intel, they're known to do this. They do kind of 2 cycles of basically the same hardware. The stuff works in the same motherboards.
Yeah.
And so I would imagine this 9 series is going to be the same. You won't need a new motherboard. Yes, they will no doubt release new motherboards, so if you want the most up-to-date, you can, but it's not going to be like when the 8th gen launched and rendered everything, every motherboard prior to that.
Yeah,
obsolete.
you kind of hope they don't, but at the same time, I mean, you could see it as them using an excuse to, get more motherboard sales or like cause. I don't think they will, though, as you say. I think they'll keep with the current ones, and they'll bring up, obviously, new motherboards will come out that can better support it, be more powerful for them and everything, which is fine, but I'm hoping, as you say, that's what they sort of keep the chipset the same, so you don't have to worry about. Because you say, like, if you want to make a small upgrade, like, if you want to upgrade processor, yeah, I mean, it's a lot of money, but it's pretty decent, isn't it, to go from, like, as you say, like, an i3, i5 to this series. But if you've got to go buy a whole brand new motherboard as well, I mean, you're looking at, like, an extra, well, depending what you want to spend, 200 plus quid, aren't you, really? So
Yeah, depending on, yes, you can get budget boards.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Fairly cheap, but, it's a shame if you're buying one of these nice flagship processors and teaming it up with a really cheap motherboard, it can, it's just a shame.
It doesn't seem right, does it? Like,
no. Well, because when you get in other things, like if you want to overclock, you want a better equipped motherboard. You end up.
Well, yeah, exactly.
It's only when you really start tinkering with things that you see where that money goes. Where you can start increasing voltages. Same with like better kind of, heat dissipation. Whereas with a really, really cheap motherboard, yeah, it'll work. But the minute you start trying to, tweak it or do anything kind of extreme, I mean, even like I've seen folk with like, top of the line hardware, but a super cheap budget motherboard, like some no name brand crap they got off, Chinese eBay, and they'll run like a benchmark and the thing will just crash. It does happen because a lot of these cheaper motherboards have, really cheap parts on them, like the capacitors and the MOSFETs and the voltage regulators. It's just, it's no good.
At the end of the day, you pay for what you get, don't you? If you want to be doing things, so like, if you're not going to overclock, if you're not going to try and benchmark it, I suppose fine. But I mean, if you're really going for the hefty, I want to bring out the maximum of this computer, then yeah, you've got to put the money in for, haven't you?
Yeah, absolutely. But no, we hadn't talked about anything hardware related for ages. Same, I want to talk about the new Threadripper, but I'm going to wait till we get the full-blown specs on this bad boy that's coming out. I had mentioned it a few weeks back, but we'll get more info on that later on. Now, an update that just came out today that I'll just do a quick lead-in, but our buddy Gem will be able to give us the full skinny on this. I sourced this from Game Revolution, and of course this is to do with Warframe. The Sacrifice update just came to consoles on July 5th. Just very, very briefly, I mean, basically, look, what Warframe's done in recent years is, it was always a great game. It was always fun. Yes, it had some, minor issues here and there, but they constantly improve it as time goes on. And they'd started introducing, actual cinematic quest lines, which Warframe fans around the world have just been eaten up, right? I mean, they've been absolutely fantastic. Actual storyline, great cinematics. And overall just quite interesting. So the Sacrifice is the latest cinematic quest, which advances the story and also creates new lore. Now, there are some prerequisites. You won't be able to just, jump right into it. You do need to complete the Second Dream, which is a previous quest, the War Within, Chains of Hero, and the Apostasy Prologue. So, for example, I'm a scrub. I haven't done Chains of Hero or the Apostasy Prologue yet, whereas our resident Warframe expert, Warframe guru, a male version of the Lotus, is of course Gim. Now, Gim, you managed to dive into the Sacrifice this evening, did you not?
Dive in and complete it, yes. So I do every quest they release, so I just get it done in a day and really enjoy it and play with all the new stuff. Yeah, they released a while back. They released a small. They called it a quest. It was basically a cutscene. It was like, oh, something's different. Now you're gonna have to wait for the next quest to find out what's going on. And I don't want to give any spoilers, but it goes through this, and it's clearly just another link in this huge quest chain they've got going since. I was going to say Second Dream, but it's the one before that, Natar. It's where you start getting the actual sort of main sort of story arc going through it.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And yeah, this is clearly leading on to more stuff happening.
Okay.
After generosity, they give you the new Warframe, new weapon just given to you, already leveled, already got catalyst and reactors.
Oh, really? That's a nice
ready to
Brucey
go.
bonus.
Yeah, and a free slot, so you don't have to go, can't have it, don't have a slot. No, they actually just give you all the stuff, which is nice. And I've been leveling stuff up so much, I didn't really want to go through leveling stuff.
Got you. Yeah. How long do you reckon the quest was?
It was a bit shorter than Second Dream and War Within.
Okay.
Say like Chains of Harrow, which is normally when they do these quests that are just like, this is the new Warframe that you get to have. They're usually fairly short, easy to go through. But this one was a bit longer and very interesting as well. Because the new Warframe they give you, it's basically the Excalibur of Warframe, just one of the ones you can start with. It is the poster boy of Warframe, but it has its own slight differences. Like it gets its own special kind of mod that you can go in that gives you them half leveled. They get stronger if you have them all in, and it's also got other little things that, well, describing them would be a spoiler in itself, but they give functionality that is unique to it as well, which is really interesting.
Got you. Yeah, no, I'm looking just briefly at some of these update notes. How we've got customizable UI themes, a revamped inventory menu, updated menus, new UI sounds. Yep, some new armor pieces, new customization for operators because there's new cosmetic bits, and some additions that some of these abilities like Valkyr's Talons can now be modded.
Yes, any Warframe that has what they call an exalted weapon. So, like, for example, Excalibur would have its exalted blade, which is like ultimate ability, where it pulls like this sort of energy sword. That's now a thing that you can mod separately. Same with Mesa's Peacemaker pistols. You get his talons, and the other one is Titania. Her she gets his little guns, which goes in little mini Archwing form. They can all be given mods. So you can mod them separately to how you mod, because what they used to do is, for example, Mesa's Peacemakers would use the mods that you basically put in your secondary, meaning that they would take the effect of the mods in there. But if you didn't have a secondary weapon, your ultimate would be useless, basically. So it's a nice change if you don't want to take a pistol everywhere with you for Mesa, and same if you, for example, if you go into sortie missions, sometimes they restrict the weapons you have. If you went into sortie, the weapon wouldn't use Mesa, but now you can. Because you have these separate mods.
That's just cool. I really need to. I keep saying it, but I'll have to try to get on sometime and actually grind away. Well, for you, Jay, you'll be several quests behind, I would imagine.
Quite a bit, to be fair. I haven't played in a long time.
Jungle, you finished War Within.
Yeah, I've done all of them
after that.
up to I just haven't done.
Jay's just that one quest behind you. Admittedly, it's the biggest quest in the game. But
that's not so bad then. That's not so bad. We'll have to. It's just amazing, a game like Warframe that's free to play that just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger and add more things. Like just the other week there, I logged into World of Tanks just to have a look because I noticed the thumbnail had changed. Now it's called World of Tanks Mercenaries, and that game has again. I mean, it's been a long time since I played it religiously, but now, Jesus, there's so much stuff in there. It's a great time to be a gamer, but at the same time, it sucks because there's so much stuff to play, and there's not enough time to, actually dedicate.
Games aren't taking your money; they're taking your time.
Yeah.
So
right. So hey, look, we've had some great positive talk here about about games like Warframe. But if you've been paying attention to the news the last month or so, there's been a lot of negative news regarding games. Just the other week there when we covered the whole concept of gaming disorder, being declared by the World Health Organization. I like to think that I shed a bit more light on what that actually means, how, it's just being proposed for the draft. The draft isn't even being presented until next year, and if it does get approved, it wouldn't actually be in the ICD until 2021, I believe it was. So, it's still a ways off. But besides that, there's been other news items. For example, Doki Doki Literature Club, especially here in the United Kingdom, has been receiving really, really bad press with quite a few suicides being attributed to that game. In fact, there's been a formal inquest initiated into the death of a 15-year-old, which parents are blaming on Doki Doki Literature Club. Now, when I first saw that, and this happened the other week, I went into a huge rant in Discord. Speaking of Discord, this darn thing up here still isn't updating. I don't know why, but it keeps showing as 0, and trust me, it's not 0. Go to the website, you'll see there's plenty of folk in there. But anyway, I got into this big conversation about it, saying, this is crazy. It's just crazy. Games are getting, blamed for parents not actually taking notice of what their children are doing. Doki Doki Literature Club is very clear from the onset that it's a psychological horror. It comes up with warnings stating, this game is not for children or those that are easily disturbed, right? I mean, that one really kind of hit a nerve with me. But this latest headline is even worse. It's worse in so many ways, and at the same time, I feel for these people. This is horrible. But anyway, I sourced this from The Sun, and I'll scroll down and get the headline out of the way, because the headline is quite, it grips you. It has some horrible language in it. But basically, it's to do with Roblox. Now, this mum is in outrage, quite rightly, because her 7-year-old daughter was effectively, assaulted in a sexual way online, in the game, by a gang of other Roblox players, which is horrible. I mean, absolutely, you have every right to be outraged if you saw that your child had this happen to them in an online game. But the thing I'm not okay with is the blame being put on Roblox itself. If you're familiar with Roblox, it's a platform, basically, for creating small multiplayer games and other things, right? It is quite childish, blah, 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 blah. But the key thing is, the game isn't to blame here. It's the sick people that made that room, or, whatever, and did this. Anyone that has any experience with Roblox knows that, honestly, does have one of the most toxic communities out there. And considering some of the games that are out there, League of Legends,
That's what you're on about.
to say that, Roblox is toxic, it's true, though. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of folk out there who are really nice, and they're playing the game as intended and building wonderful things and creating fabulous experiences. But in this case, this young girl from North Carolina over in the US was basically left traumatized and felt violated after what was going on in the game. It was horrible. I mean, I've got images here, but I'm not going to show them. Where it does, they're out there on Facebook, and it just shows that, the character basically being laid on the ground whilst all these other player characters do ungodly things, to which, there's no doubt in my mind this was not the intention of Roblox creators. They didn't mean for this to happen. But, this is the thing. You can't be mad at the games. It's people that do this. There's some sick folk out there, and they'll do, they'll use whatever they can at their disposal to make horrible, trolly experiences. I'm sure Minecraft's had its share of nastiness, especially on private servers and whatnot. But, it's a shame. I mean, obviously, heart goes out to this family that, this happened to them, but I'm not comfortable with the blame being attributed to Roblox itself as opposed to the people. And that's my issue with this headline, because I think at the moment games. I mean, games have always been under fire. I mean, come on, since Wolfenstein 3D, and Doom back in the day, games have constantly been under fire. But it just seems lately that things are really, really kind of, getting a little bit more severe, and lawmakers and politicians are getting a lot more involved nowadays than they once were. What do you guys think? Are we coming up for a gaming apocalypse? Are we going to have, legislation really, really, getting in? I mean, I just don't understand. It seems like there's a fairly good job of policing. We have age ratings on games. It's up to store owners or, retailers to ensure these things are happening. And I know it's not easy, but come on. If you're not old enough to buy a game, you don't get it. If you see a parent trying to buy a game for their underage child, then as a retailer, of course, the customer's always right. But shouldn't you also be challenging slightly, saying, making sure the parent understands what they're purchasing, saying, oh, just so you know, this does actually have some graphic images which may be unsuitable for your child, because maybe they didn't know. I don't know. It really sets me off, guys.
They should always make sure the parent realizes what they're buying, but a lot of these cases, the parents will do it anyway because they just want the child to shut up, and that's their way of parenting. Buy them the thing they want, they shut up for a while. That's one of the annoying things. And this whole Roblox thing is really irritating because why would you let a 7-year-old on an online game completely unattended? Why?
Yeah.
You know what world we live in. Why would you do that? It's insane. Roblox has like a rating, but that's only for its offline things, because the ESRB and other ratings boards don't rate online experiences for this particular reason, because it's other people.
Of course. I mean, look at all social media platforms have age restrictions, don't they? I mean, I know
they do.
They're about to raise them.
Twitter had one that I think was 13 years old.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be.
I'm pretty sure Facebook's 13 or 14.
Mm-hmm. And I know Snapchat, I think, is about to raise theirs to 16, I think.
I think 16 should be the lowest, really, the social media, because the way it can affect kids. But I think it's a bit late for that now, because they're already on it.
Thing is, like, as you're both saying, especially what you were saying earlier, Jungle, is fact is that yes, in a way, like shops and stuff should be sort of questioning, well, not as you say, challenging almost. But I mean, if they haven't got a kid with them, it's very difficult to know.
Yeah.
Because it's the same with like if you as a adult go in, obviously I know it's happened at like bars before, but it will. But if you as an adult go into a shop and buy alcohol, and they ID you, they do not challenge if you're buying it for a child. Because even if you are, you can obviously say no.
There are exceptions. They see the child outside waiting with them.
Yeah, exactly. But the point is, though, it's very difficult to tell, and a lot of people are concerned about challenging, not because they don't want to, but it's also they don't want to cause offence, because the minute...
There are a few tricks you can use, though.
Yeah, but the problem is...
engage them in conversation about the game. If they seem like they know nothing, it's, who are you getting for then?
Yeah, well, yeah, there is that as well, but I mean...
Are they over that age?
It's very tactful, isn't it? Because the minute you challenge somebody, you're out for their well-being, but they almost take it as an insult, don't they? In a sort of a, why are you questioning me sort of thing. And
it's tricky. I mean, we've kind of... These days, we're in this kind of society of appeasement, it seems a lot, where, like you say, people have... And especially kids as well, but I think... And again, I know this isn't me trying to sound ageist or say, younger generations, blah, 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 blah. Honestly, I don't mean this. But it does seem that a lot of people, and yes, people that are younger than me, these days don't seem to react very well to being told no. It's almost as if it's an alien word. And, when I was a kid, and I guess, I know it's a generational thing, it's not accepted nowadays, but, if I wanted a toy, and if I started demanding it or throwing a tantrum, I would have got slapped, right? That's the thing. Now, I know that isn't right, but I've seen it myself nowadays where so many parents, they might say no initially, which then just makes the kid go even worse, crazier into a tantrum. And finally, it's as you say again, it is just kind of this give-in thing. Or likewise the whole, but everyone else is playing Fortnite, or everyone else is playing Roblox, why can't I? I mean, that's why we've got kids running around with top-of-the-line iPhones, and access to games that, they generally shouldn't. And it is a shame, if parents, and I know it's not easy being a parent, I know this, I get that. But taking that little bit of interest in what your children are doing, especially when it comes to games and accessing online content, I mean, it's huge. And that's not just to do with gaming. When we look into things like adult content that is easily available to children online, and parents sometimes get shocked that, oh my God, I can't believe, I left my 8-year-old at home all day with a computer, and the complete filth that they found is shocking. Well, yeah, that's just kind of what happens if you leave them unattended. I'm sorry, but parenting, it requires participation. And I think
leaving a child alone with the internet is like take them to the most packed library in the world that's got absolutely everything in it, and they're just letting them do whatever they want.
Yeah, it just, and again, I know it's easy to say, harder to do, you work and all these other things, but honestly, just having the ability to do your part as a parent and deny access to certain things, or if not deny, limit it and supervise, because, even then, if you do all the right things, I mean, come on, let's be honest, right? If we were all 12 years old, right, and all of our mums told us we weren't allowed to play a certain game, but we all knew that Nathan had it, what would we do? We'd all go over to Nathan's house to play the game, let's be honest. Kids will find a way, but it's still on parents. You can make it a little bit more difficult for them. It does. It just always irks me when I see these headlines, because people that don't have any idea or first-hand experience with gaming, they see a headline like this and think, oh God, that's horrible. That's gaming is just it's nothing like back in my day you just shot ducks.
Back in their day, games were for kids.
This is the other problem, though, isn't it? With games back in the day weren't an issue because they weren't online. Let's be honest. That is the biggest change with gaming that's caused this issue. Is they weren't online. There wasn't this whole entire interaction. If you wanted to play a game, as you said, it was with your mate, wasn't it? There was no say, if as kids, we had a game, you'd go over the house, wouldn't you? It was never you need to buy this game for me so I can play online with my friend. Whereas now that's a much bigger thing now, because again, if you've got, for example, as kids, as you said earlier, if you've got mates at school who are playing the game, you want it because you're suddenly left out of conversations because it's online, because they're suddenly talking about this really cool play they did on Fortnite, or did you see me during duo or squad kill this guy, and the person's like, I'm missing out because I can't join in with these conversations. Because things like Fortnite, for example, you can't play on the console together, can you? And again, like I said, a lot of these online games move towards that point where it's very difficult to do that. And as such, as you say, it becomes this much bigger need. Kids annoy parents and everything. And I think, as you say, sometimes parents just do it to shut them up. But the other big problem with online gaming, which from this point of view, is you can't blame... The blame can't be laid on the developers unless they haven't laid out, as you said, with things like Doki Doki Literature Club. They have. They've shown what it is. And to be fair, the ownership is down to, if the game companies do, like the parents and the people that buy it, for not reading into it. I personally would not buy a game for myself if I didn't know what it was about. I'd read into it. I'd be like, oh, this looks pretty cool. This is a thing. Oh, it's a horror game. Yeah, I don't mind horror games, but it might be jumpy. Again, if you have a kid, you're going to go, horror game. What does it involve? Probably not.
Well, here, let me pose this question, because both of you guys, neither of you have children, right? But, well, not that you know of, but when it comes to, do you think being a gamer yourself would end up making you a better parent when it comes to gaming? You know what I mean? Like when it comes to, you know, like for example, like say baby Jay goes, oh daddy, you know, when he's like 4, and goes, can I have the new Call of Duty? You know, because you know what that game's all about, first-hand knowledge, you'd probably be like, no, not yet, son, not yet. You know, do you think having that personal...
Kingdom Hearts and Mario. That'll keep you happy.
I mean, do you think being a gamer yourself helps being able to make more, you know, better decisions for kids when it comes to gaming?
We understand the medium, so
yes,
that's what a lot of parents have trouble with. They don't get games.
Yeah, I agree with Joe on that.
The toy for a kid. So we understand that gaming is, like other forms of entertainment, is varied and vast.
Like, unfortunately, with the story, the example you just made, I probably would play it, to be honest. Just that's because I played
4? Jesus, dude, you're gonna look. You and Teresa, you're gonna get used to having social work involved in your lives, okay?
But the thing is, though, again, because I know what these games are involved of, I would know to notice signs, and you know, I probably wouldn't at 4, to be fair, but like, you know, 12, 13, I'd be like, yeah, knock yourself out, whatever. Because I was playing COD when I was like 10. I was playing with my dad and my uncle, crying out loud. But I used to play online with them. And again, I think there's a side of it from the parenting side of things, like the maturity of the child, like, you know, explaining this isn't, you know, you can't be doing what you're doing in real life and all this sort of stuff. But again, though, I do agree with you. I think as gamers, we're much more aware because, again, if a kid comes to me with, oh, there's this game I want to buy, chances are I'm probably going to have heard of it because I keep up with gaming news. And if I haven't, I know as a gamer to read up what it is before I go, no, maybe not.
Yeah.
And again, I think... Yeah,
I do. I think most of the problem is just the ignorance of the parents. It's like leaving a child with a knife and then being shocked to learn that they've cut themselves.
Well, it's exactly that, isn't it? It's just,
you know, what did you expect? Because, oh yeah, you know what a knife does. You understand a knife. But with this medium of video games, yeah, you don't know anything about it. You don't understand it. And even if, like, as a parent, if you just saw Roblox in passing... You know, you'd be like, oh, yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
It's cool. You know, but if they actually sat and looked and go, oh, wait a minute, this is actually a game that's all about people making content. Who are these people that you're playing with? Wait, are you playing with other 7-year-olds? Wait, what do you mean that you could be playing with a man who's in his mid-40s?
Exactly.
You know, how many parents out there really want their 7-year-old daughter in an online environment with a middle-aged man? Outside of gaming, we know what that usually entails, right? And that's a big no-no. But yet, it's okay in a video game? No, piss off. You know, it just... Again, I think take interest in what your kids are doing. I know it's not easy, but pay attention. And then
if you want to simplify, basically look at it. If it has an online component, then you really have to have a look at it.
Yeah.
I think
there's Doki Doki, but that's got so many warnings. If you're not paying attention, there's 7 warnings before the game even starts. And
I think with what you've said as well, like using the whole entire analogy of the knife. I'm going to come back to that because I think it's a very good analogy very quickly and bring my own little twist onto it. Is online gaming is so difficult to deal with. I mean, yeah, you've got parental controls and stuff, and you've got all these sort of blockers, but there's still ways around them, and people will find it. It's almost like taking your knife example and having it locked away, but leaving the key out next to the kid. It's very likely, isn't it, that that's going to happen. They're going to go, oh, this key, eventually get in the lock and eventually get a knife out, and again, oh no, the knife's to blame. When it's not, is it? It's because you haven't taken the necessary precautions for it.
That's why the best solution is to keep checking on the key.
Oh yeah, exactly that. Exactly. It's just constantly.
Child. Don't leave them to their own devices if they're young and going online games.
And I mean, yeah, hearing stories like this is quite sad and everything. I won't disagree with that fact. But like I said, you can't. If a game has come out and hasn't put out the right necessary precautions, hasn't given the right warnings or whatnot, then yeah, they're going to be partly to blame. But again, if as a parent you're buying it for your kid and they haven't done the research, let's be honest, the blame lies with the parent. Unfortunately, that's the be all and end all of it, really, isn't it?
Yeah. And I think we're all agreed on that. And it's just, but that's what irks me with these headlines when it just brings the attention to the game. You know, when the game, and like in that example, Roblox isn't the bad guy. It's those sick bastards that created that game instance and did those things.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
Exactly.
It's like if we're all playing Destiny 2 together and we start getting death threats over the voice chat, from some freaking psycho person, some crazy on the other end of the world. What? So we're going to file a lawsuit against Destiny 2, against Bungie, because they subjected us to that abuse?
Exactly.
No.
You should only do that if you're yourself doing it. He wouldn't.
It's unfortunately a problem with any sort of medium now, isn't it? Nowadays, like very quickly touching on it, films, all this sort of stuff, that the media instantly jump on this instead of looking at where the actual kind of blame lies. I mean, again, if you're as an adult going to let your 12-year-old kid watch like an 18-year-old film about guns and violence and stuff, it's your parenting, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And I won't go into obviously things like obviously all these, without saying bad, like obviously shootings have been happening in America and everything. But again, if you don't think your kid is mentally stable to play a certain game without it affecting them, you don't let them play it, do you? And it's that exact thing, isn't it? It's the ownership is down to who's buying it, whose parent it is, and if they're looking after the kid.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
Indeed. Well, right, so from a quite depressing subject, to be honest, one that really, really sucks for gamers, some great news potentially for PC gamers. Excuse me, we all know we're on the verge coughing fit, of the next generation of GeForce graphics cards being released from Nvidia. We were half expecting to already get some, concrete details on them, but it's mainly just leaks and rumors at the moment. And it makes sense. Nvidia, they clearly aren't in any rush. I mean, they're top of the line cards. They're Volta, they're Titan V, the 1080 Ti. They don't have any competition. So it makes sense that Nvidia isn't in any rush to release the next generation of cards when their current generation is performing quite well. Now, the only exception to that is if we talk about AAA games and trying to play them at 4K resolution with everything maxed at high refresh rates, then yes, a single card solution isn't going to work for you. Especially now when you look at some of these new 4K high refresh rate panels that have came out. I think I linked one for you, Jay, a week or two back.
Oh yes, you did. I never got a chance to look at that. I actually completely forgot about that.
Oh, magnificent. And I think it also linked a big 65-inch one to you as well. But anyway, allegedly, and this is an article I saw from WCCF Tech, Nvidia has a stock of over 1 million next-gen GeForce graphics cards waiting to power gaming PCs. Yeah, so basically, rumors are going all over the place, about Nvidia and how they're picking up the pace because the launch of the next gen, which, as far as we know, is going to be called the 11 series. But again, that's not, gospel yet. And it looks like Nvidia is going to be actually well prepared. If you remember, for this generation with 10 series cards, they were in extremely high demand. This is mainly, due to they kicked ass. They were really, really good cards. I mean, I was lucky. I managed to get a 1060 the day of release because I pre-ordered mine through Overclockers UK. But as time went on and mining got really, really popular, the 10 series cards, depending on which flavor you were after, were becoming a rare commodity. And then eventually we got to a point where the price of these cards was ridiculous, where it made more sense financially to buy a card if you could get a hold of it and then flip it on eBay for, double the price. Now, thankfully, as cryptocurrency operations are kind of, gone stagnant lately, because cryptocurrency has been taking a big hit, prices of graphics cards have started to stabilize. I was looking just on Amazon there the other night, and I mean, sure enough, you can get 1080s, not TIs, but 1080s for quite easily under 500 now. and pounds and our money over here. So that's pretty good, you know. And the same with the 1070s, the 1060s. They're not quite yet at what their original MSRP was, but they're getting closer and closer to it. But allegedly, for the 11th gen, Nvidia is much better prepared. They've got much more stock, again, allegedly, and you know, they're accumulating all the stock to ensure that there isn't going to be any kind of, you know, rarities. So it's not going to be a case of, oh crap, it's out of stock, and then you have to go look on eBay and buy an inflated version of the card. I think if they do this in line with limiting purchases as well, you know, where it's a case of, you know, a maximum, say, of 2 cards per customers or something, or maybe 4, because I know some folk like to rock their quad SLI. You know, hopefully it'll be quite neat. But it does seem interesting that, you know, if this turns out to be true, and Nvidia does indeed have a huge stock of their next gen cards, it's great news for us gamers, because, you know, we'll actually be able to get the newest and best video cards for a reasonable price. At least I hope. But only time will tell. The next generation of video cards should be launching maybe July, end of July, August, probably August. We don't know. We shall have to see. But yeah, with any luck, the next generation of video cards will of course mean that the current gen should go down in price as well. So there you go, Jay, if you want to get a cheeky little upgrade. Well, you've got, because what is it? Is it 980s and SLI?
No, I've got 2 960s and SLI. So, I mean, they do my job for me at the moment, to be honest.
Yeah. Aye, no, they do fine, but a nice cheeky little 1070 or something would do you quite well. That'd probably give you a slight boost, I would think. But yeah, good old Nvidia. And meanwhile, there's nothing confirmed from ATI, but AMD, ATI, Jesus, that's going back a ways. But, you know, the AMD cards, we're not sure yet, but it does look like there'll be a new generation of those in the not so distant future. It's just a case of hopefully they're going to be, you know, performing better than the Vega cards did, because those were a slight disappointment. So they were. Bit of a shame. Right, final bit of news, gents, and this is, once again, I sourced this from WCCF Tech, and this is about the July update for the Xbox, which just launched. In fact, just a few hours ago, I was updating our Xboxes in the house. And so this month's update has a variety of features and enhancements. Remember at E3 they mentioned the fast start for select titles, so games would now you'd be able to play them much sooner during the downloading process, so that's now enabled. They've also added the grouping for games and apps. They've added more search options, and for those of you that stream to Mixer directly from your console, now you can go full screen with your webcam while broadcasting. You can switch to full screen while you're broadcasting at any time you want. And in this mode, game audio is muted, making it perfect for talking to your audience while switching from game to game, or likewise, you know, setting up before you start playing. You know, that combined with the light stream options they'd added in for Mixer, where, you know, now if you're a strictly from console streamer, you can actually add in stream alerts and, you know, overlays, even so you're just on console. I mean, it's fantastic. So the update, you know, has done other things as well. It's improved console broadcasting quality as well as stability improvements. But I think it's worth saying, Gim, because you're in the preview program, you've had this update for quite a while, haven't you?
Yes, I've had it for a few weeks now, at least.
And you know, any big? Did you notice any real big changes?
Oh, I never really downloaded any of the games on the fast start enabled list, so I haven't tried that feature. But the new sort of groups, where you can group your pins on your homepage, is nice. Nice bit of quality of life. But I don't stream on Mixer either, so I haven't noticed those bits either.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
The few options I've got to use are decent.
Okay, that'll be good to see.
Search options instead of the drivers.
I always find, I think, with the updates, you know, I'm always hoping for like a slight bit of a performance increase or just a certain little quality of life updates. So hopefully I'll be able to witness a few of those.
Performance was fairly decent, as was on the sort of dashboard.
Fair enough. Seeing you, Jay, have you already updated your Xbox? You'll have to.
No, I'll have to when I next turn it on, to be fair. That's because I haven't had time to turn it on the last few days, to be fair. So,
get that Scorpio up to date.
I know, right?
I say, do you want to play this game? Yeah, I'll play this game. Oh, hang on, I've got to update everything.
Sounds about right.
Oh, well. Well, with any luck, you know, your Scorpio's actually set to auto updates or something, so you never know. It might be at least already downloaded, so when you switch it on, it'll just come up with a screen to apply it or something. Who knows?
Who knows? Nobody knows.
Who knows? Well, anyway, folks, look, that is going to do it for this week. You know, thank you so much to my good friends Gimboyd and Sergeant J for joining me. You know, it's been ages since the three of us all got together. It was great.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
It has been. You know, we've all, you know, you're busy most of the time anyway now with your job.
Yes, it's very, very frustrating.
But yeah, you know, hopefully we'll get I think we should be able to get the gang together next week. I know sometime in the upcoming weeks I'm going to have a guest on, someone who's reached out to me, but I don't know exactly. I don't think it'd be next week, maybe the week after. But we'll see. I'll keep you gents posted on when that'll be. But yeah, look, in the meantime, make sure to check out the rest of of course, there's great video content there as well. And yeah, you know, if you're into streaming, look, if you go to Twitch, search for the hashtag Scholarly Gamers. There's a Twitch community as well, and there's always a bunch of great folk streaming quite a variety of different games, in fact. Which, of course, you can also just go to the streaming directory that's on the website, www.scholarlygamers.com, and you can see who's online right now, as well as bookmark any streamers you want to check out later on. But in the meantime, look, the three of us, we're going to try to keep cool, and try not to melt in this crazy summer heat we're getting over here. I mean, it's even hotter for you guys down there. I mean, I can only imagine. I mean, what, central London, Gim, has been, what, consistently 30 and over, has it not?
About the last couple of days, we had a lot of cloud cover as well, which makes it just horrible.
And what about you, Jay? Is your neck of the woods on the same or maybe a couple of degrees lower?
I don't even know what the heat is. All I know is it's too freaking hot.
I suppose, I mean, you know, did I give him too much faith? I mean, for someone who doesn't really pay attention at the best of times.
I don't look at the temperature. I know it's hot, and that's all I need to know. You know, when you take forever to fall asleep because it's too freaking hot, I don't care what temperature it is.
Yeah.
It's too hot. Once it gets past that threshold, I'm like, it's past that threshold. It's in the realms of heat.
See, it's one of those things, like in North America, you just take simple things like every room having a ceiling fan as, you know, for granted. And likewise, yeah, I was lucky. Most of our houses always had central air conditioning, you know, so heat was never an issue. And, you know, I did live in some of the hottest places on Earth.
Also, a lot of American houses aren't built with, like, double-layer brick full wall insulation.
Yeah, full double, if not triple glazing. Yeah, like we said right in the beginning, our houses over here are built to retain heat.
I live in a solid brick box with full insulation, every possible thing. So yeah, it's not fun.
I mean, I will say, Jay, you know, if you're having trouble sleeping, I'll let you know that, see, between the hours of 2 and 4 a.m., it's actually quite nice and cool. So, you know, you might be able to get at least 2 hours of sleep.
Well, exactly. I mean, that's all just what matters, isn't it, really?
I'll do it.
Anyway, folks, that's us for this week. Join us again next week. Have a great weekend, and we'll catch you later.
Au revoir.